All right, today we are diving into a truly legendary moment in database history. This is a story about ambition, about failure, and about $100 million worth of chocolate that just vanished. Poof, gone, before it ever even hit the shelves.
So, let's set the scene. It's October 1999, and for a company like Hershey, this is basically the Super Bowl. The entire company is in an all-out sprint, ramping up for Halloween and Christmas. We're talking their two most profitable seasons, slammed right up against each other. The pressure is just immense. Every single part of the operation, from the factory floor to the shipping docks, has to run like clockwork.
But it didn't. Not even close. Instead of precision, Hershey ran headfirst into an absolute catastrophe. And the price tag for this disaster? A jaw-dropping $100 million.
And no, that is not a typo. $100 million in missed sales. In orders for Kisses and Reese's that just couldn't be filled. And you know why? All because of a database upgrade. Seriously, an upgrade that was supposed to make everything better ended up bringing a global candy giant to its knees right during its most critical time of the entire year.
So yeah, let's get right into this $100 million meltdown. The big question is, how on earth did a system designed for ultimate control end up triggering total chaos?
And you can really see here how the damage just rippled outwards. I mean, the $100 million in missed orders, that was just the initial explosion. The fallout was huge. Wall Street completely freaked out, and Hershey's stock got hammered, dropping 8%. The person in charge, the CIO, yep, they resigned. And the shockwave didn't just stop at Hershey. It hit the entire industry. Suddenly, every major company was forced to take a hard look at how they were handling these massive, complex rollouts.
And this really brings us to the heart of the puzzle, right? How could a system that was so carefully designed for total visibility, for total control, how could that system cause complete and utter chaos? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back in time a bit.
You see, the Hershey failure isn't just about Hershey. It's actually a chapter in a much bigger story. It's about this relentless, decades-long ambition in the world of manufacturing to get more data, more insight, and ultimately, more control.
So let's just track how that ambition evolved. Back in the 50s, control was pretty basic. We're talking punch cards for simple batch scheduling. Then the 70s came along, and we got a huge leap forward with what were called MRP systems, material requirements planning. But the 90s? Oh, the 90s. That's when we went for the holy grail, ERP systems. The promise here was a single, almost godlike view of an entire global company. This was the absolute peak of ambition.
So what is an ERP system exactly? Well, on paper, it's a beautiful concept. The idea is you have one system, one single unified database to tie everything together. We're talking manufacturing, supply chain, finance, HR, all of it. The dream is to have this perfect, real-time visibility into every single gear of the corporate machine, and that was the dream Hershey was chasing.
Okay, so now that we have that history, that context, let's jump back to Hershey in 1999 and really perform an autopsy on this failure. What specifically went so horribly wrong?
And this just perfectly captures the massive gap between the promise and the reality. The ERP promise? A unified supply chain. Hershey's reality? They had all these brand new separate systems that literally couldn't talk to each other. The promise? Complete end-to-end visibility. The reality? Entire warehouses full of chocolate were just invisible to the system. And that dream of seamless automation? Yeah, that turned into a nightmare of automated chaos.
So, when you get down to the nuts and bolts, the technical breakdown really had a few core problems. First, the data structures, the schemas, they just didn't match up between the different systems. Then, you had critical delays in getting data to sync up. And on top of that, there were just fundamental gaps in the logic of the whole new database architecture. But the biggest mistake, the cardinal sin of them all, they went live. They flipped the switch while the system was, for all intents and purposes, still being tested. A huge, huge gamble.
And you know, it's really important to get this. This wasn't just Hershey being reckless or getting it wrong. This was a systemic problem across the entire industry. I mean, huge names like Nike, Boeing, Target, they have all gone through their own massive, very public ERP meltdowns. It was a wake-up call for everyone about just how fragile these incredibly ambitious projects really were.
So, okay, after all the smoke cleared and the damage was done, what did we learn from all this? What are the big lessons that were forged in the fire of this $100 million disaster?
And really, it all boils down to this one incredibly powerful idea. Think about it. No manufacturer on Earth would ever fire up a brand new physical assembly line without testing every single part of it, every belt, every robot, every sensor, under real-world stress, right? Well, the huge lesson from Hershey is that a company's core database, that's its digital production line, and it deserves the exact same level of tough, relentless testing.
And what came out of this was basically a whole new playbook for how to do these massive rollouts. Rule number 1, no more big bang launches where you flip a switch and hope for the best. Instead, you implement in phases, and you always have an escape hatch, a clear plan to roll things back if they go wrong. Rule 2, you make absolutely sure those data schemas are perfectly aligned before you even think about integrating. 3, you stress test the heck out of the system at maximum load, not in some quiet, sterile lab. And finally, number 4, you just change the entire mindset. Any potential for downtime is treated as a direct database failure. End of story.
Which really leaves us with one final, and I think pretty provocative question that gets to the absolute core of this story. These ERP systems, they promised us total visibility. But if the data underneath it all isn't perfectly synced up, if it isn't 100% trustworthy, is that visibility even real? Or is it just an illusion? A dangerous mirage that makes you feel like you're in complete control right up into the moment you drive straight off a cliff.
The Hershey story is just such a powerful lesson in the devastating cost of a database failure in the physical world, where digital problems create very real empty shelves. Join us next time as we continue our journey through database history. We're going to jump from the factory floor to the film studio to look at the 2014 Sony database hack, a story of leaked scripts, broken trust, and the incredibly high cost of creative exposure. We'll see you then.